tell, I did my eyebrows black today. Not for any particular reason, just sort of felt like doing something different. But then I hadn't thought about how I would be wearing this black scarf again, and it might look kind of dark. But anyway, well, one good thing is because all of these different video clips are pretty much the same angle and view of my face, it helps me to keep things straight, because if I have to sort through something and figure out what day something was taken, then at least if I do my lipstick a little different color, or my hair differently, or the light's different, then it's a lot easier for me to find things, because there are just so many clips at this point. And anyway, it's easier to locate things, because my face is just, can't do anything about it, really. I was talking last about the public defender's offices that I had to quit, and I did quit them after I went to the first hearing. I will have to find out which firm it was. But after that, I had a different lawyer, and he was able to show that basically my lawyer didn't really hardly do very much. I mean, I don't want to say that, because I think my second lawyer did do a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, the entire charge was false. And basically the prosecuting attorney kind of admitted that it was false to the judge. He went in front of the judge, and he had all these papers, and he started shuffling through everything, and said, and then he stopped, he paused halfway through what he was talking about, because the thing that he had just said in court contradicted the next thing he was saying. So then he started going through his records again. At first he was saying, Your Honor, it appears that this man's, that the registration did belong to the owner, to the man, that he was the owner. And they had arrested me because they were saying that he was not the owner. And so then he was going back and forth between what their case was about, and ultimately they just threw it out. So I went through all of that for nothing. And actually, I went through all of that, and I think, and I'll have to check, they said that I could expunge everything, but they even forced me to do some kind of a plea deal where I wouldn't leave the state for a year or something like that. Where they said that, actually they maybe said that it would be on my record for a year, making it impossible for me to leave the country, basically. Because, I wouldn't be able to travel anywhere like that, with that standing out. And then they said after a year I could ask to have it removed. But it was this huge hassle, and the thing is that the entire charge was false. And the prosecuting attorney even admitted it. It was really a horrible thing that they did to me. It was one of many things that they did to me that was wrong and illegal, which a lot of people knew. I mean, they knew the entire time that it was wrong. And I was very thankful to my friend on that one occasion for being willing to help out. It was basically something like I was allowed to not be put in jail for a failure to appear. It wasn't for the charge, it was for a failure to appear, as long as I had somebody who was vouching for me, basically. And I remember that there was a man, I think it was when I was arrested for the quote-unquote no, they put me in jail then for something else. It was later when I think they said that I got too close to a CPS office after they gave Michelle Erickson she perjured herself in court, lied under oath. And after she did that, the police, I wasn't within the, I wasn't too close to the property, and the thing is the police thought I had some kind of a drugs or something on me. So this one guy pulled me aside, and I'll have to go down into that, through the timeline of that, because that didn't happen right away. But then I was in court, thrown in jail on something again, and I remember that at that time, this police officer, this guard who had a goatee and I think a mustache, but definitely a goatee, he started stroking his goatee and staring at me and harassing me, and was saying all kinds of things that Chris Rosolo used to say to me. And that was the second time that I had a distinct feeling that Chris Rosolo was working with the police. And this man was his friend, and was mocking me, the fact that I was in jail. There were 3 different things that happened that made me think that Chris Rosolo was working for the federal government or the local police in some way. And I happened to meet a DEA person, a DEA agent. After I had met Chris, I don't believe he introduced me to him, but I met him at a hotel. He was in the area, and I was applying for work at a hotel. And he asked me if I wanted to go out with him for something to eat. And I talked to him, and I actually talked to him again at this Mexican restaurant about witness protection. And it was kind of blown off, and then later, that was the only time I talked to a DEA person, and it was in public, and I didn't have anything to share with him. I was just telling him about some of the dangerous situations that I've been put into. And then the next time, this is again kind of going fast forward to the next time frame of things, but the next time that I was meeting a DEA person was in Nashville, Tennessee, and that person was from Florida. And I kind of had a feeling, even though the DEA person wasn't introduced to me by Chris Rosolo, who was from Florida, I had this feeling that he was in town and he knew Chris Rosolo. And when I later met this DEA person from Florida who slandered me, and when his wife came into the sauna that I was sitting in, and had something to do with my being tortured in the sauna, I knew that there was something really seriously wrong. And so anyway, backing up to go with this timeline, along the timeline or whatever. Starting from the point where they threw out this case against me. I was then at this YWCA with these women, and there was a woman who was working as an intern there through AmeriCorps, which is a federal government program. Her name, and she told me that it was a job through AmeriCorps, and she was working. She was originally from Seattle, Washington, and she was working there as part of the AmeriCorps program. Her name was Jill. Jill and Chris Rosolo seemed to know each other because Chris Rosolo visited me when I was at that women's shelter, and I noticed that he and Jill seemed to already know each other. I didn't know why at the time, and then I later found out that he did move, quote-unquote, back to Seattle. I didn't know that's where he was from originally. So if Chris Rosolo is from Seattle, and then I found out Jill moved back to Seattle, which I guess is where she's also from originally, they were both from Seattle, Washington, both Jill and Chris Rosolo. Jill contributed to defaming me to police with the main woman who worked there, and her name is escaping me at the moment, but she was the main manager. That woman had Mother Mary, Virgin Mary stuff all throughout her offices. I think that she told me she was Protestant, but there is no way. No Protestant, I remember, no Protestant has Virgin Mary stuff like that all over the place, unless they're Catholic. Or possibly Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox in some way. Because Eastern Orthodox revere Mary as, being honored to be the person who bore Jesus. And they have a lot of symbolism with that. But they do not believe in and agree with the Roman Catholic Church dogmas that she was without sin. Eastern Orthodox believe that she did have sin and that Jesus was the sinless one. And they don't believe in, I don't think they believe in the Annunciation, or they can, or they can choose to believe it, or not the Annunciation, the Assumption, which is when a Catholic dogma that says Mary didn't die, she just kind of floated up into heaven one day, like visibly. And so therefore they could say that she was assumed into heaven. And the Eastern Orthodox, they feel that that's not something that is a belief that is quote unquote necessary for the salvation of your soul. They think that that's something that, well, we don't really have enough information. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. But if you want to believe it, that's fine. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. So Eastern Orthodox revere Mary in some ways.